Hello there, I'm the Biblical Translator, and it looks like I'm losing my voice. Not quite sure why, but anyway, today's scripture is taken from Mark 6:35 to 43, and it's about Jesus feeding the 5,000. Now, this was a situation where Jesus had tried to get away, but people had been following him. They got there before he did, and no matter what he tried to do, he just couldn't get rid of the thousands. It's a bit like famous people. You've got people following them all over the place. So Jesus was pretty famous back then. And so because of his healing powers and what people had heard about him, everybody wanted to be in his presence. So it turned out that there was thousands of people, approximately 5,000 they say, and they were all listening to his teaching. Now, as it was getting dark, the disciples were saying, listen, we better send them on their bike. We have to send them on their way. Let them go to the local farms and find something to eat. But Jesus said, no, we're going to feed them. Or he said to the disciples, you feed them. The disciples are like, what am I going to feed them with? I don't have anything. And to feed 5,000 people is going to take months of salary. They were thinking rationally, they were thinking logically, they were thinking in the natural, not the supernatural. So they're trying to estimate how much it would cost to feed all these people. So Jesus says to them, so what have you got? They said, well, we've got 2 fish and 5 loaves. That's all we've got. So Jesus takes the 2 fishes and the 5 loaves and he holds them up to God and he prays on them and he blesses them, which shows us that through prayer and blessing, whatever you have can be multiplied. This is about multiplication of blessings on what you have. When you pray and you're thankful and grateful for what you have. The disciples, they were more thinking about lack. We do not have enough. And it's a bit like when we see these Black Friday sales. People rushing and cramming because they feel as though they do not have enough. They don't even need what they're going for. Yet they're risking their lives to get whatever it is. And sometimes that's how the majority of us are. We feel lack. We have this poverty syndrome. We do not have enough. Jesus in this scripture is telling us that regardless of what you have, it's more than enough. As they say in Jamaica, make it stretch. As long as you have some flour and water, you can't starve. And you notice, well, in the films I've been watching, the South Korean films I've been watching, and the Chinese films, they'll always have rice and they'll always have noodles. 2 cheap commodities or food kind. That so whenever anybody comes, they'll always say, come in, come in. They will have always made some rice and they'll always have some noodles so somebody can get something to eat, regardless of how many people come in unexpectedly. And you know how rice stretches and noodles stretch, and it's very filling. So likewise, Jesus has the bread that is blessed, and the fish that is blessed, and once it's blessed, it then multiplies and is able to feed the 5,000. For me, this scripture is telling us how we must have faith in what little we have and believe that it can stretch to meet our needs and also the needs of our family, those close to us, those people who we need to support and help. We'll always have more than enough if we think creatively. We can always find ways to feed other people, whether it's feeding them with food, whether it's feeding them with love, whether it's feeding them with information. What little we have, we can make it stretch. And this scripture is about the little, the what we would consider with the human eye as being insufficient is more than enough. I wrote here, this is about making food stretch or showing us how little can be made much. Every mickle make a muckle. That's what they say in Jamaica. If you save, 5p or £5 or £1 every day or every week, by a few months or a few years, you will have hundreds in your bank. You can actually become wealthy just by saving a small amount. You can have much at the end of it. So saving here and there you can accumulate wealth. Little things we say have big consequences. That's another thing, we might say something small to somebody and it can have devastating consequences. It's about what is small to begin with and what can be made large. What can be made bigger? What can have a big impact? An ordinary person can have a massive influence. That's another way how something small or something obscure can be made magnificent. In this scripture, Jesus had compassion on those who followed him, while his disciples were saying we would have to work for months to earn enough to feed all these people. As I said, they were in the rational, logical mind. But Jesus' realm is supernatural and the impossible. We may not have enough to feed the 5,000, but we always have more than enough to feed those who come unexpectedly at our door. My mother, she would never let anyone come in and not have something to eat, even if it was a sandwich. Normally she'd try to have some food left, always leave some food, just in case. But she would always, anybody who came in, even if it's a cup of tea and biscuits, whatever it was, she would never let anybody come into the house and leave hungry. And we don't need to do that. We have a habit, a lot of us have a habit, of when people come, people don't even come unexpectedly nowadays. Gone are the days when you'd have friends and family just turning up and knocking at your door and you can be happily surprised. Now people have to make an appointment. Family members have to make an appointment. Sometimes it's reasonable because you might have gone away or you might be on holiday. But most times it's because you as a family member do not want to be inconvenienced. You don't want to see anybody. You don't want anyone to show up at your door. You do not want to be hospitable. You do not want to entertain. And that's a reason why a lot of people don't need these on. A lot of people do not entertain people, and family members will not turn up at your door. I have, I think, one friend who I can turn up unexpectedly to, and also my daughter. The other daughter, I never know when she's going to be in, so I wouldn't turn up unexpectedly at her door. But my point is that we used to, especially Christmas time and Boxing Day, we would all the family would just show up and you would have more than enough to feed them. You would have the leftovers from Christmas and you would feed people. And that's why it was called Boxing Day, because people used to have so much food, they used to put it in boxes and a lot of them gave it to charity. Now, there's not so much left over because of the price of food these days, but you should have more than enough so that people can still turn up unexpectedly at your door and you can welcome them with open arms and you can offer them something. This is about hospitality. This scripture is about hospitality and it's about serving people, showing love, being generous with what you have, because you have more than enough. And I think I'm going to stop it there. I hope this is of some inspiration to someone. And that's all I'm going to say for now. Bye-bye.